Umbrel is an excellent way to run your own Bitcoin full node and Lightning Network node at home from a dedicated device. Now recently, Umbrel has had a massive overhaul and upgrade of its interface, so today we're going to take a look at how to navigate and use your Umbrel node. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
Before we dive in, shout out to sponsors of the show, CoinKite.com. These guys just have the best Bitcoin hardware out there. I absolutely adore my cold card Mark IV. The thing is a beast when it comes to securing and interacting with your Bitcoin in a secure fashion. They've got tons of stuff over on the website. Of course, they've got their open dimes, they've got the block clock and the block clock micro, which is rolling off the assembly line now. Great ways to air gap your transactions, seed plates, cases, the Sats card, and tab signer. They've got it all. So be sure you head over to CoinKite.com, check out their store, and use code BTC Sessions for 5% off everything in the store, or just click the link down below. Up next, if you're in Canada, Shakepay is a super easy way to be stacking sats. You can e-transfer in and out with no deposit or withdrawal fees. They have a thin spread, and if you use the link down below, you can sign up, purchase your first $100 worth of Bitcoin, you'll get 30 bucks for free. On top of that, every time you recommend friends and family and they do the same via your link, you'll get 30 bucks as well. You can shake your phone every single day for free sats. They have a sats back Visa card and tons of other awesome stuff happening at Shakepay. If you haven't taken the dive yet, be sure to do it today. Links are down below. Check them out. Shakepay. LEDN.io helps me with a ton of different things because they got a bunch of great services that you can use your Bitcoin with. So for me, it's been particularly useful whenever I have some sort of a cash flow crunch, given that I earn Bitcoin. And maybe I don't want to sell my Bitcoin, but I do need my hands on dollars at the moment. Well, I can deposit Bitcoin here, get a loan of dollars to my bank account within 24 hours. And when I pay back those dollars, I get back the same amount of Bitcoin. They also have savings accounts for Bitcoin and USDC with quarterly audits from a third party, so you can cryptographically verify that your holdings were involved in said audit. They have their B2X offering, and they have Bitcoin-backed mortgages rolling out across Canada and soon to some select US states. So be sure to check them out, start.ledn.io/BTC Sessions. If you do sign up with that link and fund your account, you get 10 bucks for free. Up next, bitrefill.com. These guys help me so much in living on Bitcoin because I can grab pretty much any gift card my little heart desires with Bitcoin, and I can pay both on-chain and via the Lightning Network. I earn sats back as I shop. You can earn additional sats back through their referral program. You can do things like phone refills, Lightning channel updates, all kinds of great stuff. And if you're in the US, you can now pay your bills with Bitcoin through them, so you can get on that Bitcoin standard. So again, check them out, bitrefill.com. There's a link down below if you want to check them out. And finally, if you are backing up any important Bitcoin wallet, including perhaps your Umbrel node, then you're going to want to get that backup in solid steel. Now, why is this? Well, paper just doesn't really cut it. You have to consider things like fire damage and water damage and a ton of other things that could go wrong, and getting it in solid steel makes a lot of those things go away. This gives me great peace of mind, and this is how I'm backing up my important Bitcoin wallets. So check them out, privacypros.io/BTC Sessions, and grab one today. With that, let's dive into the tutorial. So I'm going to start this video off with some prerequisites, and the first prerequisite is giving you the knowledge of why you might want to run a Bitcoin node. Some people may be visiting this video having not already set up an Umbrel node previously, and this is the first thing you're seeing. Well, let me just give you some information around why run a node. Well, if you are using a Bitcoin wallet and you are not already running your own node, you are trusting someone else to do it for you. And what comes with that trust? Well, a Bitcoin node is a copy of every transaction that has previously happened on the entire Bitcoin blockchain for its entire history, and it is a copy of the rules that govern the Bitcoin network. And so when you run a copy of this, you can link up all of your Bitcoin wallets to this node that you're running yourself, so you don't have to trust somebody else to do it for you. This ensures that you're not being fed false information about the state of the Bitcoin blockchain and the Bitcoin that you own. It also ensures that if somebody tries to go and change the Bitcoin network, your node will just simply ignore it and go on purring, and you will be using Bitcoin as you know it. It makes it more resilient, or makes you more resilient to state attacks, to people trying to fleece you into thinking you have Bitcoin when you don't. So it's a nice thing to be able to reduce trust and just trust your own copy of the Bitcoin blockchain. Now, there are also a ton of other things that you can do with this particular node implementation, Umbrel, that is. There's a lot of great applications that you can download. In particular, interacting with the Lightning Network, there's a lot of applications around that. Great applications to access your node remotely, become a Bitcoin merchant, lots of things like that. We'll be covering I would say the initial stuff that you want to deal with, like connecting external wallets, experimenting with Lightning, and accessing your node remotely, connecting other wallets. So we're going to be kind of focusing on that, along with a few bonuses and an overview of how to navigate through your Umbrel. So that's what we'll be doing today. In terms of prerequisites that you need to have, we're not going to be going through building the node itself. If you need that information, that is in my old Umbrel video. I will link it down below. I'll also link some other node videos that you can check out, because really you can make your node however you see fit. Lots of different variations on how you can do that. You can also buy a pre-built plug and play node that you simply plug in and set up, and that's it. You don't have to build it yourself. The other thing we're not going to be covering is when you first plug it in, the initial setup, where it gives you a backup seed phrase and a few other things like that, and the initial sync. Again, if you want to see that information, that is in my first Umbrel video. You can check that down below. But with that, other than knowing how to do a Bitcoin transaction, you should be pretty much set. So let's dive right in. So this is the new Umbrel home screen here. It'll say good morning and whatever your node's name is, and you'll see whatever applications you may have downloaded, or maybe it's blank right now and you don't have any applications, you need to get some. That might be the case as well. All of the applications on this main page are clickable, and then they open in a new browser window. And if you choose to get rid of any applications, you hit Manage Apps, and there'll be a little X, and you just click that and it will delete the application from your node. You can also customize. In the top right, they have a selection of wallpapers that you can click through, so you can change however you like to whatever background you prefer. Now, at the bottom, you're going to have your dock. So right now we are on the home screen. There is also an app store, settings. You can switch between light and dark mode, and there's a logout button. So let's take a look at the App Store. So the App Store opens in a little window here. You can scroll through and you can see there's just a ton of options here. Not all of these are Bitcoin specific. A lot of them can be file storage or password managers or managing smart devices. Tons of awesome stuff to be seen here. But where are you going to want to start? I'm going to show you a few apps that I have downloaded that I think are very important to get started with, coming from a Bitcoiner perspective. Number one, you're going to want your Bitcoin node. When you first boot it up, it will take a while to sync, probably a few days, I would say. And so, yeah, you're going to need that, and that will take a little bit to sync. You're also going to want Electrum server. Now, Bitcoin node and Electrum server will both be used to connect external wallets to your node, depending on the requirements of that wallet. Up next, you're going to want your Lightning node, because we're going to be interacting with the Lightning Network. And then you're going to want either Thunderhub or if I can find it over here, Ride the Lightning. That is the other option. And what those do is they give you a more granular way to interact with your Lightning Network node, set up channels, set your fees, all of that kind of stuff that come with managing your own Lightning node. So you might even want to download both of these and just decide which one you want, but they all refer to your Lightning node regardless, and you can actually use both and switch between them doing the same actions. Now, within the App Store, let's just take a look at how the App Store functions, and I'll just kind of get rid of myself here so you can see the full monitor. But if you want one of these applications, it's really simple. You just click on it. Here is Ride the Lightning. And up top to the right, there's a button that says install. Now down below, you're going to see all of the information about the app, the latest version that it's on, and it'll also say what the app requires. So this one, it says, hey, it requires that you have your Lightning node installed. All right. So I do have that, and it did give me a little green check mark. It is installed. So I'm going to hit the install button up in the top right. And then I'll just hit continue. And it does give me a reminder, hey, you do need a Lightning node. Great, it's already installed. Continue. After a few minutes, the application will be downloaded and installed onto your Umbrel node, at which point you'll see an open button here. And underneath, you'll also see something that says default app password, which I've covered up here. But this is the default application password that you'll need to open the application. This is different from the initial password that you set up for your Umbrel itself to unlock it. And it can be copied. There's a copy button here. And from within the app itself, I believe you can reset this password if you see fit. Now, on this main screen here, you can either just X out directly, or you can hit back and then X out whatever you want if you want to get other applications. So when we X out, we get back to our main screen. We can see Ride the Lightning is now an application on our home, and we can click it and open it if we want. Now, one more thing to note about the App Store. These applications all regularly get updates. And so whenever there are updates, you will see a little blue button pop up in the top right corner, and it will let you know that you can update your apps. It'll give you the option to update all of them simultaneously or just one at a time, however you like. Furthermore, there will be a little badge over top of the App Store with a number, and that'll let you know there's something to attend to. There's some sort of update that you need to take a look at. Now, let's move on here. The one thing I wanted to show you really quick is just in regards to that password I mentioned with Ride the Lightning. You can actually copy and use that to open the application. So just from within here. And do make note that there is Ride the Lightning Core Lightning, and there's Ride the Lightning just for LND. Those are different types of Lightning Network nodes. So Lightning node is LND. Core Lightning is different. Now you can run a Core Lightning node if you want, but just know that the liquidity and the channels that you set up will be different from the channels that you set up with this. So just that's why there's two different applications for Ride the Lightning as well. Nonetheless, I'm just going to go into the app here, and I'm going to copy this password. And while we're here, may as well just open it from this screen, but I could open it from my home screen as well. This opens a brand new window, at which point I can paste the password here and hit login to that application. So that's where the password comes into play. Up next, let's take a look at our settings, which is the middle option here. And this brings up a whole bunch of information about your node. So you can see how much storage is left out of the total amount of space on your hard drive. This one in particular has 2 terabytes. I've used up about 600 gigs of that. And if you want more information on that, you can hit view usage, and you can actually see what is taking up the most space on your hard drive. Obviously, the Bitcoin blockchain is going to take up the bulk of it. I can see Electrum server is taking up a little bit, not too much, the general system stuff. And then below that, it's really not much for each application. But if you're looking through and you're trying to save space, then this will give you a good idea of what you might want to get rid of if you're trying to really make this thing lean. Down below that, you can see your RAM. So this is if you notice your Umbrel is kind of being a little bit slow and that this gauge is all the way up near the top all the time, that could be the problem. And you can hit view usage here and you can see again what is using up the most system resources. I can see Lightning Node is using up the most, but again, I'm safe. It seems to be pretty snappy to me, so I don't need to worry about that. But it just gives you a good idea of, hey, this is what each, the kind of stress that each app is putting on your system. Now over to the right here, you can see the CPU temperature and you can toggle between Celsius and Fahrenheit, and it'll give you a warning if it's not within normal range. Down below, you can see under account, there's two-factor authentication. There is a password which you can change, which you set up when you initially set up your Umbrel node. And then there's remote access, which you can access your node from anywhere using Tor browser, either on desktop or on mobile. Now, this link can just be copied and pasted into your Tor browser, but I'm also going to show you an awesome alternative way to connect remotely to your Umbrel node in a little bit here. Nonetheless, I did want to mention that two-factor authentication is a good idea. Again, if somebody happens to get access to your node, obviously any funds that are allocated to it could be up for grabs. And so you don't want that to happen. So two-factor is a great way to ensure that that makes it a little bit more difficult. And I just want to show you what that looks like upon login. So you would be using Google Authenticator, which is an application on your phone. Basically, it just has cycling 6-digit numbers that change out, I believe, every 60 seconds. So I'm just going to actually go down to the main screen here. I'm going to hit log out. Okay, now we're back into our login screen. So I'm gonna put in my password here. I'll hit login, and here's our two-factor authentication. So just off screen here, I am opening up my Google Authenticator and finding that code that I need. So I'll phase in my camera here so you can see what I am doing really quick. But so it's just cycling numbers. So I've got my Umbrel node there and it cycles through and disappears every 60 seconds or so to give me a new code. So I'm going to put in the new code as it comes around. I'll make sure I'm clicked within here and stick that in really quick. 253437. No danger in sharing this code because again, it gets recycled every 60 seconds and that logs me back in and we're all good to go. Now finally, over to the right here, it'll show your uptime since the last restart. Now I was changing up some of my cores the other days, so it's been up for the past 13 days. I find my setup as is relatively consistent. If you're having issues with uptime, then it could be your power source. Make sure you've got an official Raspberry Pi plugin. Otherwise, you might have power issues. Other than that, there is your shutdown, restart, troubleshoot, and Umbrel version. Umbrel version, you can check for updates just by clicking the button there. Mine is up to date. If it needs an update, there will be a button here that you can click on to do so. So with that overview, let's get into some of the nitty gritty. How are we actually going to use this node? Again, I'm going to recommend that you have your Bitcoin node downloaded and synced, that you have Electrum server, that you have your Lightning node. This would be LND that I'm using just for an example here, and that you have either Ride the Lightning or Thunderhub, though we're not going to be deep diving into that. I'll just explain as we go. And as a bonus, maybe download Mempool and Tailscale because I'll be showing you something about them momentarily. So the first thing that I really wanted to do when I got a node up and running is connect external wallets to it, so that when using my wallets, I wasn't necessarily trusting somebody else's node. I was trusting my own. So we're going to show two different ways to do that. So the first would be through the actual Bitcoin node app. And when you click that, it will open up a new window for you. And you're going to see information about your Bitcoin node. You're going to see that the blockchain is synchronized or in the midst of being synchronized. It'll show you the latest blocks, how many other nodes are connected to you, any transactions that have gone into and out of your node on the network. The mempool, which is a storage of your node's incoming transactions that it's relaying to other nodes, the hash rate of the network, the blockchain size. You're going to see a whole bunch of different stuff. But the main thing that we're looking at here is the connect button up in the top right. And when you tap this, it's going to give you information to connect to your Bitcoin node. Now, some mobile wallets will allow you to simply scan the QR code here on the screen. There's also some other information here that allows you to access this either locally or via Tor remotely. So we're going to show how to do this locally with Ledger Live. So if you use a Ledger and you happen to use it with Ledger Live, we're going to actually get the information we need from our Umbrel node to connect. So within Ledger Live, if you go to settings in the top right, experimental features, and down at the bottom, you see connect Bitcoin full node. When I hit connect, it gives me a little bit of information, but I'll hit continue. It says enter your node parameters. It asks for the host, it asks for the username and password, and then presumably when I put those things in, I'll be able to hit continue. So over here on my Bitcoin full node, it asks for Tor. Now, Ledger Live, I've found the Tor connection doesn't work. Maybe they just don't support Tor yet. But other places will support Tor, in which case, first, you're going to need your host. That's the first thing that Ledger Live asks for. Now, here in this Tor setting here, there is a host option down in the bottom left here that you can copy. However, I'm going to change this to local network. All right. And I can see that the host here is umbrel.local. Then my username is Umbrel. And then finally, there is a password up here. I'm going to copy the password, but I can remember the rest of this. I don't need to worry about that. So here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go umbrel.local. My username is Umbrel, and the password I just copied, so I'll paste it in, and then I'll hit continue. There we go. Full node connection successful. You can now configure your full node to scan your accounts on the blockchain. We continue, and this is where you'd be setting up and utilizing your ledger and everything like that, and going through the rest of the steps here. I'm not going to finish off these steps, but you get the point. The main part at the beginning was setting up the node, and we have all the information to do so. Now let's take a look at another example. And this is Sparrow Wallet. I love Sparrow Wallet. I use it quite a bit. And within Sparrow Wallet, you can go to Preferences, Server, and then you can hit Edit Existing Connection. Now, this is an instance where we're not going to be using the Bitcoin Node app. We're actually going to be using Electrum Server because Sparrow Wallet requires it. So when we click on this, and I already have it open in another window here, Electrum Server, you have two options. Again, you have a toggle switch for local network and Tor. And both of these will work with Sparrow Wallet, okay? So it says you need umbrel.local is the address if you're doing local, or if I click on Tor, it gives me a string that I can copy and paste in. It also says this is my port number and the SSL should be disabled. So that would be right over here where it says enable or use SSL. That is disabled. Okay, great. Well, we're going to go with local network, umbrel.local, port 50001, and the SSL should be disabled. Now you can see that information is already here. So you would just paste it in, URL, and then your port number. This is disabled. And I'm just going to hit test connection. All right, you'll get a message that says connected to Electrum server, and it'll say batch RPC enabled, so on and so forth. Basically, you're getting a hooray, we're connected message there. So you can simply hit close, and you'll see a little blue toggle switch over here on the bottom right, and you may get a message in the bottom left connected to umbrel.local, blah, blah, blah. Or if you're using your Tor connection, then you will see that listed in the bottom left. Now it will do a rescan of your wallet and update the balances, connections, transactions, all of that stuff. So you'll see that refresh here, and then you'll be able to use your wallet as normal. Now, of course, those are just two examples of wallets that you can connect to, but there are a plethora of Bitcoin wallets that allow you to connect to your own node. So feel free to dive into the settings, and now you know either you're going to be using the Bitcoin node for anything that says RPC, or you're going to be using Electrum server, then anybody requests your Electrum server info. It's going to be one or the other. There's no other option. So play around and get connecting your wallets. One final note on connecting external wallets. From both the Bitcoin node screen and the Electrum server screen, there are links at the bottom that say looking for step-by-step instructions to connect your wallet to Electrum server or your Bitcoin node. When you click that link, it will take you to their Connect Umbrel to your wallet guide, and you can look for your desired wallet, and it will have step-by-step instructions depending on what you're trying to connect. Of course, you can still connect to wallets other than ones listed here. This just happens to be their comprehensive list of step-by-step that they currently have available. You can still try utilizing the links and information contained in the Electrum server and Bitcoin node to connect to others. But this is a great resource if you're looking for a deeper understanding or for maybe a wallet that's a little bit different from the ones we've described here. Up next, we're going to dive into some of the basics of using Lightning Network with your Umbrel node. And we're going to do that through the Lightning node option here. So when we click on this, it opens up, again, a new window for your Lightning node. And now I already have mine connected, set up, and everything. So you already see a ton of information here, but yours will seem a little bit more sparse. There won't be balances, there won't be previous transactions listed and connections and all this. But let's take a look at what's in front of us here. So a lot of people with the update were confused where their main Bitcoin wallet or their on-chain Bitcoin wallet went. However, the main function of that wallet was to be able to fund a Lightning node and open channels. And so that has been migrated from the Bitcoin node to the Lightning node section here. So within your Lightning node application, there will be something that says Bitcoin wallet, and this is on chain. All right. It'll have a balance in sats, which you can change. And we'll look at the settings for that later. Down below, you will have previous transactions into and out of this particular Bitcoin wallet. You'll also see options for withdrawal and deposit. So if you want to get some Bitcoin into your node to then be able to create Lightning channels, what you would do is you would hit deposit, and you would see a Bitcoin address that you can scan with any other Bitcoin wallet with a camera, or a Bitcoin address which you can copy and paste into any other Bitcoin wallet, or perhaps you have money on an exchange or something and you want to get it onto your node, well, this is where you would do it. So you just copy and send money to this Bitcoin address. Now, if you want to remove Bitcoin from your Lightning node that is on chain currently, you can hit withdraw, paste in an address, add an amount. You can even hit max to fill out your entire max, and you can set your fee with a slider down below, and you can even set a custom fee in sats per byte right there. All right, so that is withdrawing, and actually I'll turn that off. So that is how you withdraw from your node. Now, what about when you already have funds in your Bitcoin wallet and you want to open channels? Well, that is what you would be looking at next after depositing Bitcoin into your Lightning node. And so we can see down below here, we have payment channels. Now, yours, if you have not set them up already, will be, again, pretty sparse. There won't be open channels with details. And so you'll need to open a channel. And so to do this, there's a little button that says open a channel on the right here. You click that, and it's going to request the node ID and how big of a channel you want. And then it'll ask you for the transaction fee that you would like to attach to it. And so just as an example here, I have a website up and it's called amboss.space, and there's lots of cool tools that you can use with it in terms of auditing nodes, finding nodes, connecting to nodes, all that kind of stuff, getting channels, so on and so forth. Nonetheless, I've covered this in other videos, so I'll link it down below if you're curious about Amboss. But this is a Lightning node called zero fee routing. And let's say I wanted to open a channel with this individual. I just need their address of their node. So I would effectively copy this information right here, and I would jump back to my Lightning node, and I would paste it right here in the node ID. At that point, I would put in how much I want to open a channel with them with. By the way, it's a consideration. Some nodes limit the amount that you can open with them, aka to the downside. They maybe don't want small channels open to them. So depending on what node you're opening a channel to, there may be some boundaries there. So here I can see minimum channel size is 2 million sats. So I would be putting in 2 million sats. Now, I do not have 2 million sats of on-chain capacity right now. So that's why it's not allowing me to do this. But just as an example, if I delete a 0, hey, now I can see I've got my fee slider, or I can set my custom fee and slide that up and down. And then I would hit open channel to open with that node, and we would just wait for confirmations. After that transaction is confirmed, the channel will show up down below here as one of my listed payment channels. Now, if I open a channel to somebody else, it will be an outbound channel, meaning that I can spend through that channel to the rest of the Lightning Network or to whatever peers that node is connected to. However, I will not be able to receive inbound, and we'll touch on getting inbound channels momentarily. What we need to do here is we can now take a look at a channel that is open. So this is a good example of, let's say I had opened this channel here. Well, it would say that I can send out a maximum of this number of sats, and I can receive this number of sats here. And so when you first open a channel, it'll, for instance, if I had opened one with zero fee routing, it would say I can send 2 million, I can receive 0 through this channel. And over time, as you route payments or make payments, that will change how much can be sent or received through a particular channel. It'll also give you all kinds of information about the channel, if it's public or private, if it's online currently, the peer's alias, who opened the channel, whether it was you or the other person, local and remote balance, the total capacity, all kinds of different stuff here. And at the bottom, you have the option to close the channel if you prefer. So I'll just X out of this, and there's your channels. Now, what about receiving an inbound channel? How would somebody connect to you? And so this is where you want to be able to receive transactions. Now, there's a lot of ways to get inbound channels. One is to just give your information to an individual and they can connect to you, maybe because they want to be able to make payments through your node to all of the peers you're connected to. Well, that would be in the top right here. There's 3 little dots and you can see node ID. And this gives a scannable QR code if somebody happens to be able to scan it with a wallet that allows them to open channels. But more importantly here, you have a node ID that you can also copy and send off to an individual. So that person can then open a channel with you. So you can then be receiving transactions, and also they can be spending through your node and your peers. Now, there are lots of other options in terms of being able to get channels open to you. I will link some of them down below. Amboss is one of them. They have a product called Magma that you can utilize, and that allows you to purchase inbound channels from peers. Voltage.cloud is another great one. Lightning Network Plus is another great one. And I've done videos on all of these, so I will link them in the show notes down below, but I don't want to get too technical here. I just want to show you that you're able to actually add channels yourself or get inbound channels from peers. Now, for the rest of the screen here, again, I said you could toggle between seeing sats or full Bitcoin. So you can do that with that toggle switch here. In the menu to the top right, again, you can connect wallets, and we'll do that momentarily. And you can also view the seed words, the backup words that you would have gotten when you first set up your node from this spot. You can also recover channels. So if something goes awry with your Lightning node, you can recover them. And they have actually automatic backups. You will be able to switch those off in the future. Currently, that's not enabled yet, but it will auto backup your Lightning channels in a privacy preserving way, so that if anything goes wrong, all you'll need is your seed words in order to be able to recover your Lightning channels and get back that money. All right. So before we go about connecting external wallets, we want to just see that we can actually do transactions to and from our Lightning node. So let's dive into that. So here I've got a wallet on my desktop open. It's called Blue Wallet. I've covered it before, but if you're curious about that, again, I'll link that one down below too. I'm just going to hit receive, and I'm going to make an invoice for 1,000 sats, just as a quick example. So I'm going to hit create invoice, and I can imagine that this is somebody that was requesting a payment of me. So I'm just going to click and copy this information to the clipboard. Now, if somebody had requested a payment of me and I wanted to go and pay them via Lightning, I can hit send. I can paste in the invoice that they sent to me. It auto populates and says, hey, you're paying 1,000 sats, and it gives me a rough estimate of what that is in dollars. I'm going to hit send. That appears to be paid. If I jump over to Blue Wallet, I can see it's paid here on the screen. Now, what about the other way around? What if I wanted to receive a payment? Well, here from the main screen, I can hit receive. I can request an amount, maybe we'll say 2,000 sats. All right, I can add a description if I like. So from Blue Wallet, and I will hit create invoice. It generates here. This can be scanned by any Lightning mobile Lightning wallet, or I can again copy the invoice. It will expire in an hour. If I jump over here, Oh, it detects automatically it's in my clipboard. You may have to paste depending on the wallet you're using, but I'm going to hit pay. And there we go. That has been sent off. And let's go check. There we go. We have received from Blue Wallet into our node, and we see the balance adjust. So we've successfully executed transactions in and out. Now, I've given you an overview here of your Lightning node via the basic interface here. However, if you're going to really be digging into using the Lightning Network, I highly recommend diving into either Thunderhub or Ride the Lightning, the two that we downloaded. Now, I'm not going to cover them here. I do have a full tutorial on how to really dig your teeth into using a Lightning node via Thunderhub. And so I'm going to link that Lightning node tutorial down below. I also did a video on a different node implementation, but I used Ride the Lightning in setting up and maintaining channels there. And so if you're interested in learning how to use Ride the Lightning, I will link that down there as well. And then you can kind of decide what you want. So that other tutorial video is for RaspiBlitz. So there's a few things that you just kind of have to ignore if you're using Umbrel. But when it gets to utilizing Ride the Lightning and sending and receiving and opening channels, all of that will be exactly the same as it is here with Ride the Lightning in Umbrel. On another note, if you're looking to open a channel with a peer, I will list my Lightning node connection details in the show notes down below, and feel free to open up a channel with me. I have set my node so that the minimum is 1 million sats for a channel open to my node, but beyond that, feel free. The final thing I want to do here with our Lightning node is to connect a mobile external wallet so that we can utilize these funds on the go wherever we may be. And the way we're going to do that is in the top right, there are 3 little dots, and we're going to hit connect wallet there, and that's going to bring up our connection details. So here you're going to see a whole bunch of different information. There's going to be a scannable QR code. There's going to be a drop-down menu that gives you options between local network and Tor. And then there's going to be kind of the same connection details we saw with our regular Bitcoin node, host, port, but then some different stuff, one called Macaroon and one called LND Connect URL. And so we're going to be using something called Zeus wallet to connect remotely to our Lightning Network node. And very simply, we could copy and paste all of this information here, but we're going to be using the QR code and just scanning it. One thing I will say is that the QR code here is pretty dense, even though I have it covered up and you can't see it. You're going to need to zoom in, and if you're on a Mac, you can just kind of pinch and zoom by using 2 fingers and spreading them, and you'll be able to zoom in on that QR code. If you're on Windows or Linux, it may be a little bit different. You might have to go Google how to zoom in there. Not positive, but shouldn't be too difficult to do that if need be. So let's take a look at what is going on with Zeus wallet. So this is Zeus, and you can download it simply from the App Store for your phone, whether it be Android or iOS. And what you're going to do at the beginning, you're going to hit Get Started, and you're going to hit Connect a Node. There's a little plus sign in the top right. You're going to tap, and you're going to give it a name. So we'll just call this one Umbrel. All right. Now it says node interface. If you're using just the regular Lightning node application, it will stay as LND. However, if you're using C Lightning, there's a drop down and you're going to choose C Lightning REST. All right. But we're going to leave it as LND. We are going to use Tor. All right. And then we're going to hit scan LND config, and we're going to scan the QR code that was on our screen. So I'm going to hit that now. There's my camera. This will autofill all of the information I need in order to connect to my node, and I'm simply going to hit Save Node Config. At this point, I have full access to all of the funds on Lightning and on-chain on my node. I can see a total balance up here. I can see my Lightning and on-chain balances. In the top right, there's a little square if I want to scan a QR code, an invoice. And so I can tap each of these, Lightning, to send and receive. I can also tap my on-chain to send, receive, and see any coins that I have there. And if I tap the button at the bottom, then it will bring up and populate all my recent transactions. So we can see the transactions that we most recently did, just testing in and out of the wallet to Blue Wallet. They're right there. I can also see a bunch of transactions for small amounts, which is people listening to my podcast actually and streaming sats per minute. And then all previous transactions that have been going in and out of the node are all here. So I can X out of that. Back to the main screen, and there we are. And we can transact just as we did on our node in our example, but we can do it remotely on the fly wherever we like with Zeus. If you would like a full tutorial on how to use Zeus, well, I've done that as well. You can check that out. It'll be linked in the show notes. Now, I just want to show you guys a couple other quick applications that are definitely worth checking out on Umbrel, but there's no shortage of things to play around with here. So one really quick is Mempool. And this is just a visualizer of the state of the Bitcoin network, how many transactions are waiting in queue to get through. You can take a look at what maybe you want to set your transaction fees to, lots of different information. You can also track on-chain transactions here by typing them in and searching. It'll show you what block they're in, or if they're waiting to confirm, it will show you, and it will give a little sound actually when your transaction is officially confirmed. But the benefit of running this with your node is all of this data here is based on your copy of the Bitcoin blockchain and all of the transactions that your node currently sees waiting to be confirmed. So you're not sacrificing any privacy by visiting this on the web, which would be the case normally. Rather, you're referring to your own copy of the blockchain and interpreting that data yourself to give you this beautiful visual interface. The next application that I think is definitely worth accessing would be Tailscale. And so when you open Tailscale, it's actually going to get you to set up an account with an email address. And the reason for this is it'll be a way to reference and connect different devices, different accounts. So what this does is it allows you to access your Umbrel node from anywhere using a VPN that you yourself create. And again, really simple setup here, and you download this app on whatever other device you want to access your Umbrel from and just sign in with your email address. So we're going to take a look at what that looks like on my mobile device. All right, so I have Tailscale downloaded as an application right here. We're going to open it up and we need to enable it. We need to turn it on. So there's a little toggle switch in the top left. We'll turn that on. And at this point, we're going to tap on Umbrel. This copies a URL and you're actually going to paste that into your browser. At this point, you can log into your Umbrel and see all of the applications and interact with it just as if you were on your own computer. And you have your applications, you can tap on them. There's a little side menu, so your dock is at the side and you can collapse it in, but you can still, visit the App Store, head back to your main screen, see all your settings, toggle between light mode and dark mode so that your settings look a little bit different versus dark mode. And again, like I said, you can open your application. So I can go to my Lightning node and I have full access to not only the Bitcoin wallet, but the Lightning wallet right here to send and receive if I see fit. I can see my balance, my connections. All of that is here on mobile without actually having to use Tor. And I don't mean to, detract from Tor, but the connections with Tor can be spotty sometimes, and it can be slow and take a while to connect. So something like Tailscale, it just streamlines everything, and it's so quick and so snappy and so easy to do that it's an absolute pleasure to use. Furthermore, within Tailscale, just as a quick example, here's my other node. I can actually access my other Lightning node and my other Bitcoin full node on the fly using Tailscale as well. And so if you want to check out RaspiBlitz, I've got a video link to that down below, but there's a way to install Tailscale on it as well. And then I can connect on the fly with both of them and go back and forth between my Umbrel and my RaspiBlitz. So I just want to wrap up with some final thoughts here. And what I will say is that I've been experimenting more with a lot of different node implementations, and I plan on doing more of this. And every different implementation has a little something different to offer. And there's definitely awesome and unique properties of all of them. I will say that even with experimenting with a lot of different options, to date, Umbrel currently is still my favorite and my go-to. I like the precedent that they set. I think the bar has been kind of set by Umbrel in terms of user interface and how friendly the ecosystem is to navigate through. And I think that's a great thing because you see other implementations stepping up to replicate and improve upon what Umbrel has set out to do. And I think that's a fantastic thing. But again, I have to give hats off to the Umbrel team because they continue to innovate, add, and make things better and easier to use over time. So yeah, what else can I say? I'll also say that if you're a little bit timid about running a node, don't be. You do not need to be an expert to do this. If it's something that you want to try, then I think that you should consider the node itself to be the learning material. All right. Getting set up and building one or getting a plug and play one, that's the easy part. Once you get the node, that's where you start to play and you start to learn and you start to understand Bitcoin better. So it's an excellent learning tool. Again, the node is the tool to further bolster your Bitcoin knowledge. So dive in, don't be shy, try, learn, and when you fail, ask questions and become a better Bitcoiner. So I'll leave that there. I think that's plenty. Again, links to everything will be down below, and yeah, dive through and learn as much as you possibly can. And if you want to open a channel again to my Lightning node, that link will be down below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, please do like, subscribe, share. All of those things help get this content in front of more eyeballs. And a big thank you to everybody that do this regularly, because I do notice and I do appreciate it. Be sure to leave comments down below as well. Let me know your questions, your queries, and experiences that you've had with Umbrel or any other node implementations that you like out there. If you want to help out the show in another way, you can always hit up the previously mentioned sponsors in the show notes below, which are CoinKite, Shakepay, LEDN, BitRefill, BillFodl. They are all down there. And if you really liked what you saw, you can always drop me a Bitcoin tip via my Strike page. Maybe you'll be paying via your node in your new Lightning channels that you just set up. But that is strike.me/BTC sessions. You get there, you type in any amount you want, hit the tip button. You'll be greeted with a Lightning invoice, or if you prefer, tap the arrow to the right, you'll see a regular Bitcoin QR code. With that, I am out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening, and I'll see you guys next time for your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.